Welcome, everyone, to today's show. A boomer and a Gen Xer walk into a bar, coming to you from the Rabbit Run studio, where you, as our listeners, will experience some wit and wisdom, some smartassery, and a mother and a daughter questioning. Are we even related? Man, we've questioned that a lot this week. My name is Jane. And my co-host is my daughter, Bobby. And for the next few minutes, probably 25 minutes or so, we're going to entertain you. How you doing, Bob?
Doing good. Enjoying the sunshine.
Hey, I understand it's a little warmer up north, but hey, where'd you get that lesbian haircut you got going on there?
Lesbians R Us, $19.99.
We will cut any hair for $19.99. Just step on in. Hey, no, it's pretty darn short.
I didn't just get one haircut. I got all of them cut.
I see that. And it looks like you got some shaved there. Is there anything you needed to tell me? I mean, are we doing the big switcheroo, or what's the scoop there? You just don't want...
Oh, God, no.
You just...
No, see... Everybody, did you
get lice or
switcheroo?
Is she jumping ship from being on Team Penis over to another team? I don't know. I mean, or did you have some type of, lice or something? What's the scoop there?
They always ask me because I usually do have short hair. I did have long hair, and then I started my new job and it got ripped out. So it went back to short, and I really did like my long hair. But I learned that it can't get ripped out when it's this short.
Oh, so you did a career change move here with your hair, I guess. I don't know, but you cut your hair all off so that you don't have one of the residents where you work rip your hair out. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it did happen once, and that was painful, both physically and emotionally.
Because that came out in a chunk, right?
It did. Yeah, it all came out. It left a little tiny chunk. But listen, hey, if sexuality was a choice, trust me, I would be switching to the other team because I can't stand these men right now. But unfortunately, I don't think it's a choice because there's no way I could deal with another vagina above my own.
Oh,
mine is complicated enough. I don't need another one in the mix.
Okay? Mine is really mean right now anyway, so I don't know. I don't know if anybody wants to visit it, Bobby. Anyway.
I think it's fair, though, what you said. I mean, if I was
this ought to be interesting. If you were what? If you were what?
I'm going to stop.
No, go ahead. Hey, listen, so let me ask you this. Since we're talking about lesbians, so if you were a lesbian, who would you be attracted to? Because I can tell you right now, back in my younger years, I used to say, if I was a lesbian, I would go after Joan Jett. Because she was not only talented, that bitch was hot, man.
Yeah, and there's a lot of women that I'll look at and be like, wow, she is fine. And if I was gay, that would totally be like, in my bag.
Yeah. And people go, I have asked this to people, have you thought about being gay or, being lesbian or being, gay? And they go, no. And I'm going, liar, because you had to think about it in order to determine what you are. You had to think about it. And I thought about it like we talked about in another episode on our podcast. I was a tomboy, you're a tomboy, and people were like, are they gay? No, I'm her mama.
No.
I'm her mama. She's my daughter.
To be a lesbian, you have to be butch?
No, not at all. There's some beautiful women that don't have short hair, and there's some beautiful women that have short hair. And, I don't think the length of your hair, but I will say, that it does look a little butch, when you cut your hair that short. But I understand your reasoning, Bobby. I wouldn't want my hair hanging down for somebody to grab either.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
swing you around like a dead cat
right now. So
swing you around like a dead cat on your job. You look more like your dad. You've always looked like your dad, honeybee.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'm still curious as to what Dr. Domain was going to say. Well, I thought about what? Huh? What?
He thought about if he was a woman.
Yeah, no. If I was a woman, I'd be a lesbian in a heartbeat. Yeah.
That's funny. What are we talking about today, Bobby? So we had a few topics out there, and I think you did the big old switcheroo on me today.
I did, because one of the topics we were going to talk about, I'm actually waiting for some more news to come in on it, because I'd like us to be as up to date as possible.
On the one that we were going to do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what are we doing today?
Today, we are going to have a little debate about marijuana. Oh, Lord.
Wait a minute.
He's still thinking about vaginas.
I had to look at the button and make sure that he wasn't laughing because he didn't start the recording. So thank goodness that's not it. And what are you laughing about? No, you got to share because.
No, I apologize. That was an outburst I shouldn't have had.
You're laughing.
I thought maybe she's giving travel tips to Mexico or something.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's kind of a shit show down there right now. But thank goodness it's there and not in the United States for a change. But anyway, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, so we're going to have a little debate on marijuana.
Okay. Whether we're pro, con, or what our reasoning is, or legalization, or what?
I mean, I think we're going to touch on all of it. I did quite a bit of research on this, and I have researched it before, even before a lot of the states had gotten into legalizing it. And let's all remember, folks, state legalization does not equal federal legalization. So that's a huge wall that we're facing right now.
Yeah, I mean, we know that because people jump borders to go get stuff, right? I mean,
right,
you're going to go to Illinois or somewhere else to get your stuff. And
yeah, for drinking age, we'd always
we would do that too when we were younger. We'd go to another state.
We do it for tattoos. I mean, because a lot of states around us, the tattoo age is 16 and not 18.
Yeah. There's an age limit on tattoos?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Huh.
You have to have your parents' permission if you're underage.
Is that just for certain states?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, back to the marijuana.
Yeah. So you and I are kind of, it's funny because, and I'll tell the listeners this, my mom for a long time, and she still is mostly, but she's, anti-drug, clean edge type living and
clean edge,
this,
clean edge.
That
almost sounds like it's, like hygiene thing.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of cleanage going on.
And in your formative years, you were against us kids, doing any type of drugs, let alone marijuana and things like that. And I think that your view has kind of changed with age and with some of your disabilities, I guess I would say, the chronic pain. I think that your views have kind of changed on that. Is that right?
I would say you're right. I mean, I am still, very much against drugs, with the exception of, I think marijuana is a natural thing. And I think there's some benefits that have been proven. And now we have fibromyalgia, and all three of us do. My other daughter has it also. And for anybody who is not familiar with fibromyalgia, I always tell people there's a picture out there online and it says this is what fibromyalgia would look like. And I always tell people if you were in a really, really bad car wreck yesterday, but you didn't break anything and you survived and you woke up the next morning, that's how fibromyalgia feels. And it's like your body is so sore and it's hard to move. But the concern is you have to keep moving with fibromyalgia. And people will sit back in easy chairs and they go, well, I just can't do anything today. No, you've got to. You've got to stay mobile. If you don't, it is going to make you debilitated. And so what I have learned, and when I was working, of course, we were drug tested. And we could have a random drug test at any given time. And I didn't do anything. But I will tell you, after you and I talked about the fibromyalgia and all the pains that I have because I also have arthritis, I said a couple of years before I retired, I said, when I retire, the first thing I'm going to do is roll me a big fat one. No. And get out of this pain. Because I don't like taking other drugs, even if they're over the counter. I don't like taking them.
So is the criteria it has to be natural? That's why you're accepting marijuana?
Well, give me another example. I mean, like
opium.
Cocaine.
It's
Well,
natural.
yeah, opium is natural.
Magic shrooms, those are natural.
Yeah,
Cocaine
I mean,
is natural.
Toad licking, whatever.
toad licking.
Whatever you want.
I don't know about that because I think those are harder drugs, and I think that they do lead to drug abuse. And so, that can cause addictions. I don't think, now I'm going to say I don't think marijuana does that, but I was looking at statistics, and you're probably going to disagree with me, Bobby, but roughly 1 in 10 adult users develop an addiction, and that rises significantly from 1 in 6 for those who started using marijuana before the age of 18. So daily users have a 30 to 50% chance of developing an addiction. And
I believe that.
That's the newest information. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, no, it is not a type of
gateway drug.
A gateway drug, yeah. But as it turns out, it kind of is. And so I think you have to be careful with that as to when you start using it and how much you're using it. If you're using it daily, not just for pain, you got an issue.
Well, anybody that uses it really has an issue one way or the other. But I don't think that it's so much of a gateway drug as people who do use it daily, they do build up that tolerance. They have a new normal is basically what it is. And especially for chronic pain patients and things like that, we really got screwed by the war on opioids. And I'm going to say it like that because I took opioids for many, many years.
But I wasn't addicted.
No. See, and here's the difference. Here's the difference people don't understand is that I wasn't addicted to the drug. I was reliant on it to feel normal.
But I think that's what addiction is. I think it puts somebody
because because I didn't need more of it. If I didn't have it, I was sore, but it's not like I was out behind a dumpster, sucking some guy off for some more opioids. I never had that. It was more of I was reliant on it in order to have that normal.
And you're saying to function because of pain. Is that correct?
Correct.
But that's how a lot of addictions start, Bobby, because there is a connection with the use for depression, for anxiety. And
I'm not saying there's not. I'm just saying that, for a lot of chronic pain patients, it wasn't the addiction to the high or the way that it made us, feel funny or happy or anything like that. It was just that it brought us to a level of normal that we could function every day. I could get up and I could clean my house. I could go to work, a full-time job. I could be interactive with my children, to whereas when they took it away from me, it was really hard to find something to replace that. And unfortunately, with marijuana, it is a Schedule I drug. And a Schedule I drug means that the government doesn't think that it has medical value and that it has a susceptibility for abuse. And so I think that that's a huge problem. You're not going to schedule marijuana on the same page that you're going to schedule heroin and fentanyl and things like that. And that's exactly what they did. I
don't disagree with part of that statement, but when you talk about it made you functional, there's functional alcoholics out there. There's functional meth users. I had a functional meth user working on my house when they built it. And I
remember that.
And he goes, yeah, I use meth. I go, are you serious? Because I'm thinking, how are you working on my house? Very functional, smart cat, did a great job. And he said, I've been doing it for years. And I go, every day? He goes, yeah. And it's like, oh my goodness. And so there's functional, cocaine users. So it isn't, I guess I have to argue that point where you said it made me functional. And so that right there, here's one of the other things that I want to mention is back when we were in high school, and I did try it when I was under 18,
what?
But yeah, I did. I was in high school but I didn't like it. And I had nothing to do with it. And Dr. Domain, did you ever try it in high school?
Try what?
Marijuana.
No.
Oh, no, because he was a straight shooter and he got good grades and he was there every day to learn, to actually learn. He's giving me the stink eye right now. Yeah. But here's the old big difference is he's pretty darn smart and I'm not. But one of the things that we have to understand is the modern products of marijuana often feature significantly higher THC concentrations
Right.
than previous decades, right? So those risks of addiction do help turn into mental health issues, some cognitive decline and physical problems, especially if they're using it on a daily basis or long term. So I think it's changed over the years. So it does have a higher level. It's like meth. You watch Breaking Bad. You got certain levels of meth, right?
Right.
Of the purity of it, and it makes a big difference. And so,
Well, yeah, because we're not talking about the Iowa ditchweed that we used to get, when we were in high school that literally grew in ditches from people throwing their seeds out.
That's not why. Do you know why? In the Midwest?
What?
Because it was grown to make rope in the war during the wartime.
Well, that was the hemp.
I'm sorry, that was hemp. But
yeah,
that's where the ditchweed came from. It wasn't from people throwing it out. It was because it was grew as a farming agricultural for the government. So come on.
I tend to disagree because we had our own little crop going.
Okay. Well, you may have had some stash out on rural Route 20. And
she was out making rope.
She was out making rope.
Yep. I was out making rope.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But, the thing is, we have all these states that are progressing in the fact that they are legalizing marijuana use, whether it be for medical or recreational. And I'm going to put this on the table. I don't think anybody under the age of 21 should be recreationally using marijuana, period. I believe that it is something that is akin to, I won't say it's as bad as alcohol, but there are changes that happen in your body and in your brain. And I don't think that anybody who's under the age of 21, honestly, I don't think anybody who's under the age of 25 should be using this stuff.
I don't disagree with that. And when we compare, the use of marijuana, which really stimulates you and kind of, makes you, hey, dude, we're just.
Well, it depends on the strain.
We're going to hang out, to somebody who's drinking alcohol and now is starting fights, going downtown, driving cars. I think that there's, but no one is doing anything about alcohol. But all of a sudden, marijuana, you have a little bit, and they're going to throw you in jail for 5 years. That's
right.
It's becoming more acceptable, though. We got to agree that.
It's becoming more acceptable in some states.
Yeah, dope's becoming more acceptable in our society.
Yeah.
My prediction, and I've said this for a long time, is that marijuana will be legalized countrywide. I believe that. And then right behind it will be cocaine or other illicit drugs. I know it sounds like a reach, but I don't think we're going to be that far off from that.
I think you're probably right.
I don't think so.
Well,
I think you're probably right.
Look at the European countries. I mean, they're already starting to slide down that slippery slope, right?
Yeah, that's
true. But
true.
I mean, even with the states, legalizing marijuana for either personal or medical use, we're still having, in 2021, the amount of possession arrests in those states where it's legal was almost 200,000 for the year.
Hold on. Why are you getting arrested for something that's legal?
That's what I'm saying.
It's because of the amount. I'm looking at it right now.
It's the amount, it's distribution, it's do you have a gun on you when you are carrying that marijuana? And that's one thing that I had brought up to Mom, because when she first started dabbling, I will say, in pain relief with marijuana, she just like all of us, we are gun owners and we have legal guns, things like that. And
easy,
I
sister.
Had to tell her that because what?
I said, easy, sister. I'm just kidding.
Well,
we have guns. Yes, we have guns.
Yeah, and I had to tell you that, federally, Mom, marijuana is still illegal. You're not allowed to have firearms while you have a medical marijuana card. You got to pick one or the other.
And I think, and that's an excellent point, because when you told me that, I was like, hey, what? So my medical card is good I mean, I can go across borders and get medical marijuana, although they limit it, in other states. But the requirement not to carry a gun if you have that certification for medical marijuana is federal. What I did was I let my medical marijuana card go because I can get it anywhere. Let's face it. I mean, really, I only do gummies when I'm in pain. I don't really smoke anything because it hurts my chest.
Right. And everywhere around Iowa has legalized for recreational use.
Right.
I mean,
right.
We're smack dab in the middle of the states surrounding us that do not have restrictions. And our state has like the lowest THC that can possibly be produced for medical use.
So just to clarify, one of the reasons why the states where it's legalized, why they're going to jail, has to do with the quantity. It has to do with being under the influence out in public, would be no different than alcohol, under the influence while driving, and whether you're selling it. So those are the reasons they're still going to jail for that. Now, if it's just for possession under personal use, I don't think they're going to jail, Bobby. I'm not really seeing that. But I did want to ask you, as of January 2026, how many states do you think have legalized medical use of marijuana?
Ooh, medical use?
Yeah.
21, 20, 20, 30. I want to say 21.
40.
40.
How many do you think have legalized recreational use?
Oh, legalized and not decriminalized, 40.
What do you think, Dr. Domain, for recreational use?
Yeah,
we're
40s.
talking legal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's only 24. Only
but
24.
What was it like a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago? It was a lot less.
Yeah, it was a lot less. And
Again,
I don't have those stats for those previous years with me.
It's proving my theory.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, one thing we have to realize though is there's a huge difference between decriminalizing and legalizing marijuana.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of states have decriminalized it, meaning that the police forces have, they're kind of, well, you'll get a ticket, you'll pay a fine, but we're going to let you go on your way because we don't want to clog up the prison systems with this, lower level stuff. But you're still going to get fined. You're still going to have that on your record. You're still going to have issues with it. And that, the ones that legalize it you can't get a fine for having a personal use on you if you're not under the influence driving type of thing.
Right. And I think that when people look at, well, these people are still getting arrested and they're still going to jail, you have to look at those other conditions, right? I mean,
right.
There are conditions associated with it. But, proponents argue for pro-legalization. Proponents argue that, cannabis is safer than alcohol or tobacco, and that's legalized, and it's allowed for under government regulations. The whole thing is the reason it's problematic is because the government doesn't control it right now and they can't tax it. That's the whole problem. And so that's why it's such a big deal. But all marijuana is not the same, just like every cigarette's not the same, just like all alcohol is not the same. I mean, you may be getting some that's, not free of pesticides, has dangerous additives to it. I mean, some marijuana comes with fentanyl in it. So I think you have to pay attention to those things too. So where are we at, I guess, in this whole thing? I did want to mention, though, that some studies have connected, cannabis use to depression, anxiety, and in some cases, suicidal thoughts, especially among teenagers. And I think that's important to say because there are parents out there that go, oh, yeah, my kid uses a little marijuana, and you don't know how much little marijuana he's using or she's using. And you have to understand that we've got other things that are causing depression in our kids. I mean, social networking should be outlawed really for kids, but it's not. Some cognitive impairment, short-term effects include impaired memory. Let's face it, when you're feeling pretty good because you've taken a gummy or whatever, I can't remember crap. But but it does reduce your attention span. You've got slower learning. You know, I think it's important that people understand I'm not against gummies or the use of this stuff recreationally, or if you've got to use it for pain. But for God's sakes, don't go out and inspect a bridge tomorrow, and don't, fix my car. And I don't need you to be my brain surgeon while you're taking this stuff. And so there has to be some restrictions on it, Bobby.
Right. And that, that's what I started talking about when we first started out is, yeah, there do need to be restrictions. There needs to be age restrictions, of course. And, you talk about, especially teenagers who are getting either the flower or these vape cartridges, they're getting them second, third, fourth hand. These are the dangerous ones. These are the ones that are not regulated, that are not sold, they're not inspected by anything. And these are the ones that have the fentanyl laced in them. These are the ones that are there. I call them bathtub vapes because, just like with the bathtub meth, you don't know what's in it.
Exactly.
It could be rat poison mixed with it.
Right.
And you're over here inhaling it. Yeah, it's going to cause a lot of damage. And even if it is regulated, even if it is, a pure flower that was organically grown by one of the safest farms in America. If you're a 14-year-old child who is smoking this constantly, and let's be honest, once these kids get a hold of it, they're going to want to feel how they feel every day.
Right.
They're
if
going to
not
want
more,
that high.
if not more.
Right. And so you're going to have problems. I mean, these kids' brains are developing until they're 25 years old. And to introduce something like THC to the receptors that govern not only emotions, but emotional stability, logical decision making, things like that, there's going to be problems. And we as parents, I think we need to step up. Yeah, kids are going to get a hold of stuff. Kids have gotten a hold of stuff since day one. I mean, I remember, being a very young teenager drinking in a cornfield because we were at a rave. Who got us the alcohol? Nobody knows, but by God, we were out there drinking it. But I think that
why do you have to confess everything on this podcast?
I'm 45 years old.
I
the
know.
statute of limitations is over.
But as people listen to our previous podcast, there was one where you admitted something that
this up.
I know, because it bothered me that much.
You just admitted to smoking weed in high school.
Well, it wasn't like I was doing it all the time. I did it to try it. That's what I said.
Well,
and I didn't like it.
At least you're not like my dad. Unfortunately, God bless his soul, that man actually doesn't have the proper receptors to be able to use cannabis because it doesn't affect him at all.
Oh.
And thank God he didn't pass that down because boy, I'd have been pissed. But
maybe he was smoking with Obama.
Well,
he didn't inhale.
Yeah.
Was that him?
That's right. That's why it was not effective. I do want to go back though, Bobby, to, you talked a little bit about pro-legalization. And I know that there are advocates out there that emphasize that marijuana laws are just proportionately enforced, and you mentioned that too. Based on if I'm carrying something personal, I shouldn't be going to jail for that. And one of the things, whether we like it or not, it is disproportionately enforced, with Black individuals being far more likely to be arrested than white individuals. Whether we like it or not, that does happen. Now, listen, I'm not advocating for anybody. I don't care what your race is. I don't care. But when you see those numbers, you kind of go, is it because you're out raising hell and, causing issues? And, I would have to look further on that to see, were they under the influence while they were driving? Were they selling? What was the situation? And people focus on this, the fact that it's enforced more with Black individuals, but let's really go to the root cause here. Why were they arrested? Not just for having personal use, but was it because you were doing these other things? Now, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying that, when you want to take a side, look at everything.
Well, I mean, let's look at a few of those numbers, because they've done a lot of studies on this, especially recently, and they have found that, the usage rate across the racial groups is pretty similar. So it's not that one race is using it more than another race. They're actually really close in usage, but Black people are 3.64 to 3.73 more times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession than white people.
But then again, what I just said is, were they just doing personal use, or were they selling it? Or were they under the influence while they were driving? I'm
just doing some numbers. Okay. And then you look at states such as Montana and Kentucky. Black individuals are over 9 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana possession than white individuals. So that study actually showed that white people were more likely to get a ticket and be able to move on than to be arrested and be detained and taken to jail.
Yeah, I would like to see if everything was equal. You know what I mean? Was the situation equal? I would just like to see that.
And they have done, especially the ACLU, they have done a lot of studies on this. And a lot of times they have gone, toe to toe, Black person versus white person, Black male versus white male. They're both carrying, let's throw a number out. They're both carrying an ounce of weed, okay, in their pocket.
Yeah.
And they're driving down the road, and let's say they both have a tail light out. I mean, they have actually done studies for this. They get pulled over for the tail light. Well, there's a lot more times that Black person is pulled out of the car, searched and arrested, rather than the white person pulled out of the car, searched, and they said, okay, we're going to give you a ticket for this. You have to show up to court, but we're going to let you go.
Yeah. And, I think, again, there's a lot of conditions here, and behavior makes a difference also. You get pulled over, Bobby, and you act like an asshole. I say take her to jail. Do
you see the body cams? What are you doing here?
I get pulled over, and I'm really nice to the police for doing their jobs, and I'm thanking them. I'm not going to jail. Okay. I really do think behavior plays a role too. So yeah, I am looking at the body cams, Bobby. But one other thing that I wanted to mention also is we've got a lot of big corporations that are now, have that big marijuana industry. Right. And one of the concerns is that they prioritize corporate profits over the community well-being. And so, potentially exploiting the same communities that were previously harmed by the prohibition. And so I think, there is a conflict of interest. What are you laughing about?
This is news. I mean, they totally have no concern for the community in the first place.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely true.
I mean, look at our food.
Government, anything. Yeah, they're not going to have concern over us.
That's true. But when you get bigger corporations involved, it's like the big pharma, right? They don't give a crap about us. The medical industry doesn't really, I truly believe they don't want to make us healthy. They just want to make money. And so, once you get the big corporations involved, and now you've got states that legalized it, they're going, oh, we can make profit off this, even though the community may be harmed by it. And again, the government gets its tax money. It's just a big shit show. It's just,
well, it's surfacing already. If you recall, so in Des Moines, they have this huge farmers market, and it's like one of the best in the nation. Anyway, there was a guy there that was selling dope of some form, and he was starting to feel the squeeze because the government was starting to jerk him around in terms of quantities and stuff like that. And all the while, there's a large corporation that's building itself up to do all of this production, and they're squeezing the little guy out.
Right.
Follow the money.
Right.
There's money to be made in the dope business.
That's called
billions.
That's actually got a term that's been coined here called the green rush, and it's created a new tax base. hidden costs associated to the regular farmer as opposed
Right.
to the corporate company that can get tax breaks.
But the gentleman we were speaking to at the farmer's market, he said, "This is it. This is my last year. I'll be doing this just because of this." And it's really sad.
Very sad.
Because you've got entrepreneurs out there that are trying to make their way into this industry, and just like any other thing that's destined to make a mint, they're going to get squeezed out.
Yeah, I get it. On the other side,
there's billions to be made. I mean, let's not scoff at that. You look at Colorado and things like that. They're pulling in billions in revenue over the legalization of just leisure marijuana use,
well,
not even medical.
Right. They're bringing in billions of tax dollars too. And some
Right.
could argue that funds schools, infrastructures, roads, that sort of thing. Now, on the other side, though, the offset of that is the social costs of the increased addictions, workplace accidents, arrests, drugged driving incidents. So it's like there's always a counterbalance, right? So
Well,
even
the same
though,
with alcohol.
oh, absolutely, totally agree. So
And it was, I mean, the prohibition kind of showed us that, and there's a marijuana prohibition too, don't get me wrong, but the alcohol prohibition showed us that, when you take the free reign of that alcohol out of the hands of the companies who make it and the people who make it and the people whose livelihoods depend on it, they're going to find a way, one way or the other. They're going to find a way to get that into the people's hands.
yeah,
And the safest way for the government to do this is to partner with them, is to say, you know what, we're going to make it legal. We're going to tax it. We're going to get a little bit off of it, but, we're going to make it safer, because you're looking at crime rates actually go down in the states that it's legalized for personal use.
yeah.
Crime rates have gone down. Violent crimes have gone down in the states where they have personal use that is legalized.
Yeah, I get it. So it's just going to be an ongoing conflict for quite some time. But again, I think as every situation comes up and when you go to argue it, you need to look at everything, not just, what's on the surface. What's on the surface of the law, and people go, oh, they got legalized. Let's look at everything. Let's read that law. Let's read how it got into the system. Let's read how it got voted on, who was voting on it, and, who's going to benefit from it. And so I think that's really important.
Yeah. Hey, quick question. Did you know why most marijuana businesses, even in the legal states, are cash businesses? Do you know why that is?
Does that have to do with a commerce, federal, there's a federal commerce clause out there about favoring, or about not favoring local farms and local businesses for licenses? Am I way off base on that?
You're kind of way off base. So get this, because marijuana is not legal at the federal level. Most banks are at the federal level. They have the FDIC insurance, things like that.
Right.
So banks will not open accounts for these businesses since marijuana remains illegal at the federal level. And guess what? Handling money from marijuana sales is considered money laundering at the federal level.
I did read that. Isn't
that crazy?
Yeah.
And by making them be cash only businesses, that opens them up to robberies and things that don't need to happen if the federal government would just get on board and start protecting these businesses, allowing them to have bank accounts for this money, for these profits, for these businesses. It's like they're setting them up to fail. Let's just be honest. They're setting them up to fail because the government just, doesn't know what the hell
it's just not in place. There needs to be different legislation for that.
But yeah, money laundering. Can you believe that?
That's crazy. Go ahead, Dr.
I was saying
Domain.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Open a car wash.
Yeah. Open a car wash. Yeah.
Yeah. Launder that money.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll open that up. But I truly believe cash is still king. until the government starts spending our money the way they're supposed to be spending it, and we're finding out a lot of fraud's been going on, and a lot of our money has been going where we didn't want it to go, and people are pissed off, and it's like, leave us alone. You know what? We're the ones paying those taxes, so I think it's important to know where that money's going. Anyway, that's all I have to say about it, Bobby. What else you got?
Hey, all I can say is, we are pro do what you're going to do, but be responsible.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Keep these kids out of it. Keep it out of these kids' hands. Let's start getting the bad stuff out of it, and let's start actually enjoying life. And honestly, government.
Here, here. I'm all for that. That's going to be bleeped out, I'm pretty sure. But
I doubt it.
I'm pretty sure the one word will be. But anyway, here we go.
But hey, listen, that is all the insanity that we have for everybody today. But we do appreciate you joining us at the Rabbit Run Studio. Please be sure to follow us. Find us over on Facebook at the Boomer and Gen Xer official podcast page.
And share. Yeah,
share us with your friends, your enemies, your dealers, whoever you got, man. I mean, we'll take them. But we do look forward to spending time with you each week. And if you have like a topic idea, a question, constructive criticism, drop us a short email at boomerandgenxer@gmail.com. And if you have hate mail, well, send it to me. I'll use
roll
it
up and
paper.
smoke it. Yeah.
So until next week, I'm Bobby Joy.
And I'm Jane Burt. And you're stuck with us. Peace out.
Later.